So I wanted to talk about this idea that the imagination is the missing piece that you've been looking for. The imagination is so incredibly powerful, and I really believe that this is the secret source that we've been seeking that will turn the world around us into this really beautiful and magical place that we get to explore. It's not that we have this town or this city that we go into to do our job in some office building, and then we catch a bus and then go back home and then have dinner and then go to bed. That's a boring kind of monotonous way of thinking about it, right? No. Well, the imagination can frame it in a kind of way that turns it into a magical adventure. But not just going to work. Everything that you do in your life can be painted with these colors of the mind, right? And the mind, the imagination, has access to a kind of infinite palette of colors, so long as we cultivate that imagination, right? So I really feel that, I look around and I think that so many people are walking around in this world in this kind of daze, it looks like, and I certainly fall into this sometimes, where I'm just kind of walking about my business and getting into this flow of things, and just kind of forgetting that actually, wait, we're a part of something bigger. There's something going on here. There's meaning and purpose behind me doing this thing. There's something deeper. This life is an adventure. My life is a story within it that I get to tell, right? So the thing with the imagination is that it's a conscious effort. We have to make a conscious effort to activate our imagination on a day-to-day basis so that we can turn our lives into an adventure, so that we can paint the world with the colors of the mind that I mentioned earlier, right? So I wanted to share the story of what happened today, right? So me and my friends, Jakera and Toby, we decided to visit the local marine reserve here in Wellington. It's in this place called Island Bay where I live. And so, we parked up and started exploring these rock pools. And the first thing that I did was that I grabbed a stick, right? And it seems that on the surface, a stick is just a stick. and to any pedestrian walking by, they would have seen me, and I was wearing this outfit as well, which is a new outfit that I've unlocked, and I feel that I've unlocked a new part of my character, a new character of myself, and I get to engage in the world in this way, dressed as I am, aesthetic and how you dress is a big part of this. But anyway, this is how I looked exploring these rock pools. And so to a pedestrian, imagine me on some rocks with a stick, holding a stick as though it was a sword, right? One person might think I'm crazy. Another person might think I'm kind of childish or immature. And the third person might think I'm cringe. But I think I'm freaking cool. I'm exploring this marine reserve with a stick that I get to use as a walking stick. And a kind of way that I can rock myself from this side of the water chasm to that side, and I can poke around with it, and I can poke around at some of the marine life down there, and Toby was up turning rocks, and there were crabs walking around and little mollusks and kelp and seaweed, and it was a whole microcosm that we were exploring. But of course, to the bystander, we're just three adults walking around some rocks, right? Big whoop. But from our perspective, no, we are exploring a microcosm, and there's color, and there's life there. There's crabs scuttling about, and I'm poking around with my stick and wielding it like a sword, and I feel like I'm part of an adventure, right? Because I am. Because that's what I believe. That's what I allow my imagination to paint the world as. right? And we were looking at these little rock structures, right? It was all very jagged, all over the place, really. And we were imagining, what if this was scaled way up? These would be mountains. And we started imagining, oh my gosh, what if there was like this earthquake once upon a time that split these two societies? Like, imagine if there was a castle on top of these rocks, and they had this kind of pulley system, and their docks down there in the water, and they had this pulley system to bring up their goods from the ships. And imagine that there was this other civilization on this side, and they were at war with each other, and there was some precious minerals down below that they were fighting over, right? And we were just riffing off these ideas and discussing these ideas, and these are all jewels of the imagination. Only with the imagination could we do this, right? But I feel that, again, to the pedestrian walking by, or to the bystander, we look childish or immature or cringe. But in fact, it's none of those three things. We are three adventurers exploring a marine reserve. You know, I'm there doing parkour. I'm wielding a stick that's got like +4 agility. You know, we live in this open world game, and we have the ability to reach down and grab a stick and hold a stick, you know, and it's got certain properties, and we can use it for a certain purpose while exploring this marine reserve, you know, poking around some of the wildlife, rocking back and forth between this rock and that rock, you know, pretending to be an elven warrior, right? So that's just me giving you an example of how I went about this today, you know, how I use my imagination in this small example of exploring a marine reserve, right? So I'll leave it up to you to decide. Next time you're exploring a beach, you could just be walking on the beach, and that's fine as well. You know, you can just walk on the beach. There's a billion infinite ways to engage in the world, but don't forget that, you know, your imagination is so incredibly powerful, and you can paint the world as many colors as you want, and the kind of colors that you want to paint it. You know what I'm saying, right? And you can turn your life into an epic adventure, and you can really become the main character in this way. Okay, so I really hope that I've inspired you to engage in the imagination more. This is just what I was inspired to do. You know, while I was there with my stick on the rocks poking around, I was thinking, you know what, I feel inspired to make a video about this, to talk about the imagination and its power, because I feel that it's something that isn't spoken about enough. We're all looking at the world and feeling that it's a rather scary place at the moment. It's a bit stale and dry, and where's the color gone? Where's the color gone? No, the color is within our own minds, right? Do we all live in the same world? I don't know. That's a question up for debate. But that's the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. If you do like this kind of content, I'll definitely be making more in the future. So yeah, don't forget, the journey has only just begun, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.